Hey everyone, Ian King here with your weekly YouTube video. And joining me this week, my friend and colleague, Steve Fernandez, Banyan Hills resident millennial. Steve, looks like you got a different background going on there. What are you doing?
I do. I'm in South Florida visiting the office for a meeting. So
Good,
happy to be down here.
good stuff. But as always, probably still following the markets. And, this week we want to talk about the big IPO of the week, Rivian. For those of you not familiar with this company, they make electric pickup trucks and SUVs. This has been just an IPO that everybody has anticipated for, I guess, years now, since they first released the prototypes of their cars. But Steve, give us a little color on the pricing of the IPO and how the stock's trading right now. And let's talk about whether or not investors should buy or sell this stock.
Sure. So they opened at $78 for its IPO. Now it's at $120. So at its current valuation,
they priced the IPO at 78.
Right. That was the pricing. So yeah. Right now with Rivian at 120, they're literally right around $100 billion valuation.
Okay, so $100 billion valuation. And how many trucks are out there right now?
I mean, they will have 1,000 trucks expected to be delivered by the end of the year. So I looked at it, easy calculation, 100 million per truck that they deliver this year. That's their valuation. Pretty absurd.
Yeah. But the market must seem to love the prototypes that are out there, because if it wouldn't be giving it $100 billion valuation elsewise, right?
Right. And we know that the market eats up the pickup truck idea. The Cybertruck, when that came out, was a huge deal. Well, the prototype, that is. And even the prototype of the Nikola truck that really never existed, the market went crazy for that too. So no surprise to see what we've seen so far.
And we talked about this before we jumped on this webinar. The light truck market is huge in the US, right? It's about 20% sales of all vehicles in the US. And then if you add in SUVs, the total is about 60%.
Yeah, SUVs alone are 60%. So it's about 80% for, they call that the light truck market.
Mm-hmm. So Rivian's first to market, we're talking about a huge market here, but again, the market cap of the company is actually larger right now than GM, which is about 88 billion. Even though GM doesn't have any EVs, or they have the Chevy Bolt, but they don't have an EV on the market around an SUV. The Hummer is coming later this year, and then the Cadillac Lyriq will be next year. But then you also have competition coming from Ford, the F-150 Lightning. Do you, first of all, Steve, are you a pickup truck driver?
The next car that I plan on getting, next vehicle, I plan on getting a pickup truck, just from the utility aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when you think about the valuation difference between, say, GM and, Rivian, for example, it's not even, it's a bigger disparity, because about 20 billion of GM's valuation is tied to their self-driving segment, the Cruise segment. So it's even a bigger gap there. If it's a $20 billion valuation, we're looking at a difference between 100 billion and, say, 70 billion, right? That's a huge difference.
Right. And we looked at the cost of the Rivian electric pickup truck coming in at $67,000. So you're almost in Model X territory here. The Ford F-150 Lightning is about $20,000 cheaper. Is there any reason why a consumer would go and buy a pickup truck, a Rivian, that's $20,000 more than an F-150 Lightning when they have similar specs?
Right. Now, when I look at it, I think of it more as a status symbol. If you're going to be spending up for that, kind of like a Lucid type vehicle, where the mass market's probably going to gravitate towards the cheaper option, that is the Ford F-150 Lightning, or even some of the Cybertrucks are on the cheaper side. But if you're buying a Rivian, you probably just want to say, hey, I have a Rivian, or I think this looks really cool.
Yeah.
Either of the two.
And I've said this before, I was an early investor in electric vehicles. I invested in Fisker and Tesla, both about a decade ago. And I would caution anyone who's going to buy a new car from an unproven company, because there are so many build quality issues that happen when they release a new version of a car. It's not as simple as, putting or stitching a couple of pieces of clothing together and sending it out. There's just so many mechanical moving parts, so many software issues. There's going to be bugs in this. And I think that down the road, when people start getting these cars, and if they have build quality issues, because this is exactly what happened with Tesla 6 or 7 years ago when they released the Model 3, there were just so many build quality issues. People want to return their cars. They're writing negative reviews online. Then you get Consumer Reports and other auto bloggers talking about, how the company has build issues. And I think that could be, a signal that, or really weigh on the stock, especially at this valuation. At $100 billion, this company really has to execute almost flawlessly with the amount of pre-orders. I think they've got something like 30,000 pre-orders up until 2023. So it still is going to look, it's going to have a really hefty multiple on just the pre-orders, so to me, this is like a crazy thing, but the market is really irrational right now. I wouldn't go short this stock up here because the market is so irrational. It could easily double from here. It's just not something that I would buy, especially at these levels.
Sure, like you said, everything has to go right, but it's really hard to short in this market, especially these stocks that really don't have, cash flows right now. We don't know what the market's going to assign this stock. So there's definitely risk baked into this valuation, or the lack thereof. That is, the market's not pricing in the risks that, things will go wrong inevitably. And all it takes, even with Tesla now, they say the Tesla vehicles are just, the self-driving feature is much more, much safer than traditional driving, but it just takes that one instance of it not going right, and it hurts the stock in the short run.
I agree. And, I don't think the Cybertruck is for everyone. I thought I actually saw one in the wild this weekend, but it was really somebody took a Jeep Wrangler and kind of put that sort of angular back on it. And for a second, I was like, oh my God, that's a Cybertruck, but it was just a Jeep. And it just looked really ostentatious. Like, I don't see the Cybertruck as being a mass market car. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you can explain millennials, maybe they will be buying Cybertrucks. I just don't see my generation X going out to buy Cybertrucks just because they look a little too out there. Now, having said that, Elon sees competition from the F-150 Lightning and now the Rivian. I would not be the least bit surprised if there's going to be a Tesla practical truck, released in the next year, just because it's 20% of the US car market. There's no way that Tesla is going to overlook this or create a product like the Cybertruck that maybe people don't like because of the way it looks,
I agree. I think, there's going to be a niche market for the Cybertruck. Like everyone I've talked to, like you said, just kind of balks at the look of it. I think it looks pretty cool, but I agree, to stay relevant in terms of the pickup truck market. They're going to have to make something that appeals to the mass market, like the Ford F-150, as I see being the Ford F-150 Lightning, as I see being probably the most popular electric truck in the next 5 years.
Yeah. What does your fiance think about the Cybertruck?
Oh, she thinks it's very ugly. I mean, I wanted to get a Cybertruck, but it's taking forever.
So trust me, when you're married, there's no chance that you're getting a Cybertruck when you're married.
We'll see.
She doesn't like it. There's no way you're getting a Cybertruck. Wishful thinking, though, on your part, Steve. Wishful thinking. So that's it for this week's YouTube update. Just want to thank everyone for tuning in. Any questions or comments, we want to hear from you below. Would you buy the Cybertruck is the question this week, is what we want to hear. And anything else. If you like what we have to say, always please smash that like button and tell your friends about our videos. I'm Ian King. He's Steve Fernandez. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with another YouTube update. Thank you and have a great weekend.